These are the most dangerous jobs in the world. Imagine risking life and limb for a paycheck. Everyone's seen The Deadliest Catch, and a commercial crab fisherman is an occupation that needs no introduction. Huge freak waves that completely engulf the deck, a ton of swinging metal crab traps hanging from a crane, and the cold of the Arctic. These guys earn their big paydays. When you're tasked with cutting down a tree that's a whole person wide, you're gonna need more than just an axe. Planning the safe felling of a huge tree is a tricky job for a lumberjack. One wrong cut and everyone goes running for cover. There are soldiers, and then there are the special forces. They're so tough that they only get to hang around their other hardcore buddies. Training includes breaking stuff, breaking others, and breaking yourself. Just imagine a squad of these guys behind enemy lines. Bomb diffusers have to be just about the coolest cats around, able to think through life-threatening situations that quite literally blow up in their face. This job is not for the faint of heart, nor those even remotely afraid of heights. An electrical alpinist is tasked with climbing up extremely high television broadcast towers to carry out repairs and maintenance. They make a career out of not looking down. Ahead of the annual Mount Everest climbing season, ICEFALL doctors get to work securing the routes that tourists will take, freeing them from snow and ice and securing ropes and ladders to make the trek less dangerous. As if regular firefighters aren't hardcore enough, it's up to a smoke jumper to be the first line of defense when a blaze is started in the remote wilderness. Dropped in by parachute and left to fend for themselves, they use chainsaws to cut down trees to provide breaks to halt the approaching inferno. Most scuba divers travel to coral reefs to photograph, but not this guy. He's a commercial diver. What does that entail, you ask? Well, diving into tanks of raw sewage to free up any blockages. Yes, it's a real job, and no, I have no idea how much he's paid to do it. Think of it this way, if we were meant to fly, we would have been born with feathers. A thin piece of material is all that prevents you plummeting to your doom after jumping out of a plane. It takes a special breed of human to do it for a living. Oil, or as they call it, Texas tea. You're looking at what's perhaps the dirtiest job on Earth, covered in muck spewed up from the bowels of the planet at high pressure. No thanks. No runway? No problem. You got a stream. You got a place to land. Got a paddock? That'll do. Heck, any semi-flat stretch of land devoid of trees is all these insane bush pilots need to set off soaring into the sky and, more importantly, return back down to land safely. A sane person would see an approaching storm and do one of two things. Either seek shelter and batten down the hatches or get the heck out of there. Not storm chasers, though. They get as close as possible to Mother Nature's wrath. Crash test dummies and ballistics mannequins will only get you so far in the world of body armor sales. The people crave a live demo with a real-life person. Yes, that's a real blade right there, and yes, the dummy modeling it is most definitely a company man. Avalanches, tsunamis made of snow that can bury you underneath 30 feet of icy badness in a matter of seconds. I have no idea if avalanche cameramen do it for love or for the dollar, but either way, it's not a job worth dying for. Technically, linesmen are electricians. They're not wiring up your house, though. They're working on high-voltage power lines where one wrong move could have them reduced to a pile of smoldering ashes. No, it's not Captain America from Wish.com. It's just his stunt double. When the action calls for someone to get punched in the face, hit by a car, or thrown off a moving locomotive, it's a job for Bobby the Stuntman. Some window washers are content to use a bottle of water and a squeegee at a set of traffic lights. Not these guys. They rappel down the side of skyscrapers to wipe the muck off your 40th story office so your view of the city skyline isn't spoiled. Take a bow, chaps. Yeah, boy. Skyscrapers look pretty, but they have to be built on a skeleton of girders to keep them from falling over. Iron doesn't install itself, so it takes people working at nosebleed height to rivet and weld them all together. Being the captain of the ship seems like a pretty cool job, until you realize that if anything were to happen, you have to go down with it. The sea is a harsh and unforgiving mistress, throwing 60-foot walls of water at you in an attempt to sink you to your doom. I thought that every hulking tower crane had a little elevator inside to take the driver up. If the harrowing climb isn't bad enough, how about being stuck in a little box hundreds of feet above the earth all day? Bridge painters spend a year and a half connected to harnesses while tightrope walking thin cables just to get a lick of paint on. Then when they finish, it's time for a second coat. Major Tom to ground control. This is one dangerous job. When you consider that astronauts are strapping themselves to a giant rocket, which is pretty much a glorified can of ultra-flammable and explosive fuel, you get the picture. Hitting the afterburners and copying enough G-force to turn your face into a melty puddle of flappy flesh is just another day in the life of a jet pilot. If you do manage to remain awake while breaking the sound barrier, there's still the enemy aircraft to evade. Yeah, sure, blowing up stuff for a living sounds like a dream job for every firecracker-happy kid. The truth of it all is that this is a job where the margin of error between a building imploding versus sending debris flying is razor thin. I'm not entirely sure if suspending a gigantic chainsaw from a helicopter and flying it through dense forest is altogether dangerous, but when you realize that this guy's cutting down tree branches within a few feet of high-voltage power lines, it's a different story. Being an F1 driver is no walk in the park. That tiny tin can with 4 wheels and an 800 horsepower engine doesn't fare well when hitting a wall at 200 miles per hour. Shark divers are people who've never seen the Jaws films. Whether it's a tiger, a bull, or a great white, a human is just a bite-sized meal for any large shark. Attacks do happen, still it doesn't stop these guys getting into the water with their video cameras. Would you take a bullet for a paycheck? If you're a bodyguard, the answer is absolutely. It's all in the name. Protecting the royal, rich, and famous is a dangerous job, but someone has to do it. Bring your own black suit and set of cool shades. It's a crazy job, but someone has to do it. Let's take a second to appreciate our brave firemen and women who don't give a rip about their own well-being and willingly run into fiery infernos to pull people out to safety. Are you a fan of being assaulted, spat on, and despised by literally everyone in your workplace? Then a corrections facility officer is the job for you. Diving from the highboard into a deep swimming pool is an Olympic sport. Choosing to leap off a waterfall into the unknown below is just pure insanity. Hope this guy enjoys broken ankles because I don't. One bumblebee collecting pollen from a flower is cute. A swarm of bees ready to envelop and sting an entomologist disturbing their nest is an entirely different story. A man who wears 100,000 bees instead of a tracksuit needs his head examined. Zoos are an awesome place to enjoy exotic creatures from behind the safety of toughened glass. Spare a thought for the keepers, who nearly end up as lunch on a daily basis. It takes a special kind of person to venture to remote, unforgiving places and rescue the other people reckless enough to try and conquer them. Who's more insane, the mountain climber or the guy paid to go pick up the broken pieces? When you live high up in the mountains and there's only one route in and out of town, that makes the bus driver a local hero, especially when he's spent 50 years driving through the Andes on roads that claim 1,000 lives a year. Being a bike courier in the heart of the Big Apple may seem kinda nice, but this is no leisurely Sunday ride. To make the big money, you have to deliver your packages quick. If that means weaving in and out of moving traffic and running red lights, then apparently so be it. I know what you're thinking. This climber must have rocks in his head. Free solo means no ropes. You fall, you're a goner. I can't imagine this guy having any fingernails left after scaling up 25,000 feet over 3 agonizing hours.
I'm dying. Help me.
Wind turbine technicians are the unsung heroes of the clean energy world. Think of them as glorified surfboard repairers attached to ropes working on equipment that are essentially giant lightning rods scattering an otherwise featureless landscape.
I like turtles.